Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock, and we have a special meeting today. Today's October the 17th, 2023, and Chairman Meitzner is on a business trip for the county, so he's not able to be here this morning. So I have a great privilege and honor to actually chair today's meeting, so I appreciate this opportunity. And with that, we do have an agenda, and I ask our clerk to please call the first item.
Roll call. Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Dennis.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howe.
Present.
Chairman Meitzner.
All right, so I'm calling this meeting, I called the meeting to order, again, October the 17th, 2023. And with that, we have an item of business on the agenda. Please introduce that item, Madam Clerk.
New business, item A, consideration of a grant in the amount of $37,163 from Kansas Secretary of State for Physical Security Grant Program.
Thank you. And I know we have Christian Emile here to present that to us. Commissioner Laura Rainwater is also here.
Well, good morning.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us today. And sorry for the fast turnaround on this. We were given this grant opportunity on October 5th. It was released by the Secretary of State with a quick turnaround of October 20th. And that is why we requested to come before you today. With that, Christian has done all the legwork on this, Christian and Brad and our vendors, so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners and Vice Chair. For the record, I'm Christian Lamuel, Operations Manager of the Election Office. Before I begin, I would like to thank Facilities, Courthouse Police, and the Finance team for their collaboration on this project. So today we are presenting a consideration of a grant in a total amount of $41,292.23 from the Kansas Secretary of State for the Physical Security Grant Program. The Secretary of State's office announced the grant program will be using federal HAVA security funds for the express purpose to facilitate upgrades and improvements to each of the 105 county election offices. The upgrades and improvements will be in the areas of physical security of election equipment, ballots, election offices, and staff. Each county will be responsible for the procurement of any approved upgrades and improvements, and the Secretary of State will provide reimbursement up to 90% of allowable expenses. If awarded, grant funds will be used to upgrade the physical security of Sedgwick County election equipment and spaces. Upgrades will focus on two items: internal fencing to provide additional security of election equipment located within the election warehouse, and two, badged access to secured election spaces in the historic courthouse location. Upgrade 1, additional internal fencing will be placed within the election warehouse to separate election equipment from the warehouse office. This fencing will create a secure space for election equipment that will only be accessible via badge access. Badge access will create another layer of security as each badge entry will be recorded, and estimated expenditures for this upgrade total $29,527.74. Upgrade 2 will focus on badged access to the secured election spaces located within the election commissioner's office. 3 rooms will receive these upgrades: Election Central and our 2 tabulator rooms. Current security measures for these spaces consist of physical keys and paper sign-in sheets, but badged access will create a stronger level of security, as entry will only be possible via badge access, and each entry will be recorded. Total expenditures are estimated at $11,764.49 for these upgrades. We identified these potential upgrades by focusing on the second goal of our strategic plan: to strengthen logistical resources to ensure the continuation of efficient, secure, and accessible elections. Through these upgrades, we are directly promoting our second goal by analyzing potential risk to our existing systems and seeking solutions for increased security. There was quick turnaround for this project, as the election office was not fully informed of this grant and all of its requirements until late October 5th. With a submission deadline of October 20th, this unfortunately left us with a 15-day timeline to develop our application and consult with vendors. We immediately began discussion on potential items and had proposed items that we believe will improve the security of election equipment and spaces. To have this item on today's agenda, we had to submit all information by the morning of Friday, October 13th, giving us essentially a week to complete this application. Recommended action would be to approve the submission of the grant application and authorize the following actions. Acceptance of the grant, if awarded, authorize the chairman or election commissioner to sign all necessary documents, including a grant award agreement containing substantially the same terms and conditions as the application, and to authorize establishment of budget authority until the conclusion of the grant term and allowing for remaining balance at end of each calendar year to be established in the next fiscal year. And I stand for any questions.
All right, thank you for the presentation and explanation. And Commissioners, what questions do you have or comments? Any commissioners have questions or comments? Let's talk about a few things. Again, you talk about this is a HAVA grant,
Yes.
Help America
Help
Vote. So
America
this is
Vote Act.
federal,
Correct.
federal funding.
Federal pass through to the state to us.
You know, there may be people out there wondering if this is private money. This is federal grant money,
Correct.
and it's passed through the state. If we do receive these funds, will we find that out very quickly, I assume?
October 31st.
Okay, and then we have how much time to make the improvements?
Up until February 1st of '24.
Very good. A couple of other, I think, good questions here. For the election office area, when they start doing after the election, all the counting and all that happens, sometimes observers kind of want to see what's going on. Is there going to be availability for observers to still kind of see how that all works?
It would be similar to how it is now. We just would prop that door open and allow them to view into the tabulator room, but not physically step into that space. Because it wouldn't change the existing layout or the structure of the door. It just would put that badge access and change it from the keyed lock that currently exists.
All right, very good. And then the badge access, is that going to keep a log of who accesses all that? So
Correct. It should be tied to their employee badge number, so it would have that unique identifier to know who badged into that room at what time.
And if someone opens the door and someone else walks in behind them as a guest or whatever, it may not capture that person's identification, but the person that opened the door will have that information.
Correct, and that's why we would have in place drafting policies, procedures, guidelines for county staff.
That's good to hear that. And there's also security cameras that are capturing video
Correct.
as well.
Mhm.
So again, I know we had some concerns a couple of years ago about Homeland Security. I don't know if this satisfies any of those concerns, but I think more security on election equipment is always a good thing.
Mhm.
One of the other questions I have is, again, we're hoping to get more a new election facility at some point. When that happens, do you believe any of this improvements can be reused, or what's the plan going forward?
I spoke when we did our physical tour of the warehouse with vendors. We also had courthouse police and others. I think somebody from facilities was there with us, and they did indicate the improvements we are making to the warehouse will be utilized by the evidence portion, because they would then take over that space, and so it would not go to waste.
Okay, good. All right, Commissioner Dennis.
Thank you. Just one question about the badges. Is
Mhm.
use the same badges we use around here? So what happens when there's no power or the system breaks? Is there a key?
I believe there's a 7-hour reserve, is what we were told.
But is there a key? Like, I can get in my office with either this
Or the key, yeah. That is a good point, and we brought that up with Sandifer, and he assured us at the warehouse that it's on some type of backup that lasts a lot longer than 7 hours. But we did have that concern too, that we would have key access, so yes.
And so how do you record the key then?
We have a lot, currently, we use a key access with a paper log. And so if that were necessary, we'd go back to having key access with a paper log, because everybody needs to be recorded. And like you said, the drafting policy would be very strict. You know, no, if you go in that, you swipe your card, no matter if somebody goes in front of you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Well, it felt like this was non-controversial, which is why we're dealing with it today. And by the way, people might be wondering why not to do this tomorrow. We don't have a meeting tomorrow. We're doing the transportation local consult tomorrow at the Wichita State University Metroplex in the morning. And so that was a conflict. And so we don't have a meeting tomorrow. And again, the urgency of having this through the commission is obvious. We appreciate the help from the state to improve our security locally. And then again, knowing that this money will not be wasted, Again, if we were to change where the election office is, all of this improvement can be used in the future. So that's good to know that. I don't see any, I don't have any other questions, I don't believe. Any other comments or questions before we entertain a motion? All right, does one of the commissioners want to make a motion?
Move that we take the recommended action.
I'll second.
All right, motion to take the recommended action. It was seconded by Ryan Beatty, or Commissioner Beatty. Any other comments or questions before we vote? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Dennis.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye. All right, motion passes 4-0, and because this is a special meeting, we're not going to take up any other business today. So with that, Manager, anything else we need to do before we adjourn? Counselor, anything else? All right, seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.